Okay, good afternoon students. In previous class, we have discussed the chapter morphology of flowering plants. In that, we have discussed about the flower, different parts of the flower, calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium, aestivation, placentation, different types of aestivation, definition of aestivation, definition of placentation, different types of placentation. Then we have studied about the semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. We have studied the different symbols which were used for the description of what we are going to call it as a typical flowering plant. Then we have discussed the description regarding the important families. 3 families were studied: Fabaceae, Solanaceae, Liliaceae. For all these families, we were discussing the floral formulas and floral diagram. Okay, that completes the chapter morphology of flowering plant. And in today's class, I am going to start the new unit, that is the unit number 3. Cell structure and functions. The unit name is cell structure and function. In this particular unit, today we are going to discuss the chapter 8, cell, the unit of life. Cell, the unit of life. Okay. So I would like to tell you all studied regarding what, in the sense, the living things and non-living things, how we are going to discriminate the living things and non-living things. And we have studied there are the few characters which can distinguish living things and non-living things. Okay, so when we are going to look at the non-living things, that doesn't have any cells. Living things, in the sense, you all heard about the unicellular organism and multicellular organism. In the sense, living organisms are composed of a cell. There are some organisms which are unicellular, in the sense the single cell is represent the whole organism. Some organisms which are composed of a many cells. The cells are going to form tissue, then organ system. Okay, you means we all are studied, means in earlier one chapter we have studied, that is animal kingdom. There we have studied the level of organization, cellular level of organization, organ level of organization, organ system level of organization, tissue level of organization, like that. Here in this particular chapter we are going to study about the cell, the unit of life. In a sense, the living organisms are composed of cells, or some organisms they are the single cell is going to represent the complete organism, in the sense unicellular and multicellular. These things, you know, in the sense you are familiar about these things. Now in today's class, we used to know who is proposed the cell theory and how they are contributed. Okay, knowing this cell, today we all know about the cell. It has a cell membrane, cell wall, cell organelle, cytoplasm, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, ribosomes, etc., etc. Okay, you have heard. But who all are the, what we are going to call that as a reason, in the sense who all are gave their effort, that today we come to know what is cell and how it is going to what multiply and all these things. Those things we are going to study in this particular what chapter, in the sense chapter name, cell, the unit of life. ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ನಾವು ಏನು ಕಲಿತೀವಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಸೆಲ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಸೆಲ್ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಕೋಶ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಏಕಕೋಶಿ, ಬಹುಕೋಶಿ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತೈತಿ. ಆದರೆ ಈಗ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಂದು ಯಾರು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ರು, ಹೆಂಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ರು, ಓಕೆ, ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ನಾಗ ಈ ಒಂದು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನಾಗ ಕಲಿತೀವಿ. So in today's class I am going to give you a brief introduction regarding the cell theory. Okay, after that how the cell is going to divide and what is the theory named that, and next what is the what we are going to call that one as a cell theory as understood today. That is to know in a present video. Understood? Okay, let us start with the chapter cell, the unit of life. Here, first thing is to know what is cell. What is cell? Kosh atandrenu, or what is cell in the sense? Cell, it is a fundamental, structural and functional unit of all living organisms. What is that? Fundamental, structural and functional unit of all living organisms is called as cell. It's called as a cell. Now, as I mentioned, a single cell, it is represent the whole organism in the sense unicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms in the sense they compose of a different kinds of cells, and today we know all these things. And who is told earlier, or who is the pioneer? That fellow told about the cells, okay, or cell. Now, here we used to study cell theory. Used to study in this particular video or in this particular concept, cell theory. In 1838, there was a scientist named Mathis Sclading. Okay, Mathis Sclading. He was a German botanist. And he studied many plants, and then he told the plants are composed of a different kinds of cells. And those cells are going to form a different kinds of tissues. This was means first this fellow is told that in 1838 plants are composed of a different kinds of cells, and these cells are going to form a tissues. Who is told that? Mathis Sclading. Okay, that was a German botanist. Next, simultaneously in that period only, another one scientist, Theodor Schwann, in 1839. He was a British zoologist. What he studied in the sense, he studied the different types of animal cells. And he found the cell in animal cells. He found the outermost thin layer, and he named that as outermost thin layer only. And today we are going to know that outermost thin layer as a plasma membrane. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಸೆಲ್ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಏನೊಂದು ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಇರ್ತೈತಿ, thin membrane, that is we are going to call as a plasma membrane. That was earlier studied by the Theodor Schwann in different animal cells, and he observed that thin outer layer. Okay, now at the main simultaneously this fellow again studied about the plant cells. Who? Theodor Schwann. ಮೊದಲಿನ ಮ್ಯಾಥಿಸ್ ಸ್ಕೆಲ್ಡನ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ different types of plants study ಮಾಡಿದ. different plants are composed of different kinds of cells ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ. ಆ cells tissue ಆಗೋ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ. ಅದೇ ಟೈಮ್ನಾಗ ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬ ಸೈಂಟಿಸ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದ. ಅವನ ಹೆಸರು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ Theodor Schwann. He is a British zoologist and he is working with the animals, and he told the animals are composed of different kinds of cells, and these cells are having the outermost layer, and today we are knowing that, means we are going to call that as a plasma membrane. Okay, Theodor Schwann, and also this Theodor Schwann is studied regarding the plant cells, and there in plant cells he observed that the cell wall, in the sense cell wall is present in a plant cell and cell wall is absent in a animal cell. Understood? So he is differentiated that Theodor Schwann, he studied the animal cells are having the thin layer, that is plasma membrane. In plant cell he studied, means he observed that the plasma means cell wall. observe the cell wall. Understood? And next, what we are going to go for? Then what happened? ಇದಾದ ನಂತರ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ both these Sweden and Swan, ಇವಿಬ್ರು ಕೂಡಿ Sweden and Swan, they propose the cell theory. ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡಿರಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಸೆಲ್ ಥಿಯರಿ ಪ್ರಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಸೆಲ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸೆಲ್ನಾಗ ಏನ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಐತಿ, ಸೆಲ್ ವಾಲ್ ಐತಿ, and cell it is the fundamental structure and functioning of all living organisms. In the sense, the Sweden and Swan, they are proposed the cell theory. Okay, but what happened when they are proposed the cell theory? That time I written on the bracket one thing, how the new cell is formed. They are told plants are composed of the cell, animals are composed of the cell. Okay, afterwards this fellow told the animal cell has the outermost layer. Today we are called as plasma membrane. Plant cell had what? The cell wall. Everything they are given, but they are not mentioned how the new cell is going to form. In the sense, how the new cell is going to form. That is the lacuna of the cell theory earlier, which was proposed by the Sweden and Swan. They are not given anything regarding how the new cell is going to form. One cell to another cell ಹೆಂಗೆ ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ಏನು ಪಾತ್ರಲ್ಲ ಈ ಸೆಲ್ ಥಿಯರಿದಾಗ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಹೌದಾ? Okay. Now next, what has happened in the sense after that? In 1855, Rudolf Virchow, he was studied and he was given how the cell is going to divide. In the sense, he proposed the cell divides and new cell is formed from the pre-existing cells. What Rudolf Virchow studied? One cell is there, that cell only is going to divide and it is going to form a new cell. In the sense, cell divides. The cell earlier cell means the pre-existing yen cell ಐತಿ ಅದೇ cell. The cell divides and new cell is formed from pre-existing cell. Cell divides and it is going to form a new cell from a pre-existing cells. And that theory is known as omnis cellula e cellula. ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, what is the omnis cellula e cellula theory? In a sense, what Rudolf Virchow was means proposed that cell divides and new cell is formed from the pre-existing cell. The cell is going to divide and it is going to form a new cell from a pre-existing cell. Pre-existing cell ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಏನು? I am going to try this. This is one cell. Okay. Then this cell is divided into two cells. In the sense, ಒಂದರಿಂದ ಎರಡಾಯಿತು. This new cell is going to form from a pre-existing ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಏನು ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ಇತ್ತು ಅದೇ ಸೆಲ್ದಿಂದ ಮುಂದಿನ ಸೆಲ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. That is what omnis cellula e cellula. Understood? So this video is given about how the cell is going to divide. Okay. Before that, I told you Sweden and Swan was proposed the cell theory, and here I told you Swan is studied the animal cells. Animal cell has the thin outermost layer, that is we are going to call as the plasma membrane, and he also studied about the plant cell, and that plant cell is covered by the cell wall of the DNA. At that time, this Theodor Swan was proposed the theory. What is that theory? In the sense, he is proposed the hypothesis is that the bodies of animal and plants are composed of different kinds of cells and cell product. Who proposed this? This Swan. Swan was told hypothesized that all the bodies of plants and animals are composed of cells and products of cells. Then these both the scientists were failed to explain how the new cell is formed, and that was studied by the Rudolf Virchow in 1855. In 1855, Rudolf Virchow, he told that cell divides and new cells A new cell is formed from pre-existing cells, and that is the theory homogeneous cellular e cellular. After that, the Rudolf Virchow modified this figures, modified the cell theory in the sense whatever the cell theory is given by Sweden and Swan. Sweden and Swan ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ cell theory ನ ಯಾರು modified ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು? Rudolf Virchow is modified the cell theory and final shape of the cell theory. Anantara whatever the final shape of the cell theory today we are accepted. ಈ ಇವತ್ತಿದ್ದಂತ cell theory ಒಂದು ಏನು ಅಂತಂದಾಗ the cell theory as understood today. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು cell theory ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿವಿ ಅಥವಾ what is the final shape of the cell theory, that is all the living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells. In the sense cell theory ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಏನು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡೆವಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ that is modified by the Rudolf Virchow. All the living organisms are composed of a cells and products of cells. And second one is all cells arise from pre-existing cells. In the sense all the cells are formed from a pre-existing cells. All cells are from means arise from a pre-existing cells. In such a way that the cell theory was developed, and today we all are understood the cell theory as all the living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells, and all the cells are arising from pre-existing cells. All the cells are arising from pre-existing cells. Sometimes the question is going to ask you from this particular concept, what is homogeneous cellular e cellular theory? Homogeneous cellular e cellular theory, it is nothing but cell divides and new cell is formed from the pre-existing cell. This much we used to write for one marks question. What is that? Cell divides and a new cell is formed from pre-existing cell. That is homogeneous cellular e cellular theory, and this is given by Rudolf Virchow. Understood? So sometimes in competitive exam we used to ask the questions, okay, based upon these things. So we used to remember 1838 Matthew Sweden is the Greek botanist. He studied about many plants and he observed that the plants are composed of different kinds of cells and they are going to form tissues. Meanwhile, simultaneously in that period only another scientist was working, that is the name Theodore Swan, a British zoologist. He studied about the different types of animal cells and he observed he given the outermost layer. Today we used to know that plasma membrane, and he also studied about the plant cells and he observed the cell wall in a plant cells. Then afterwards both these scientists together they have proposed the cell theory, but they are failed to explain how the new cell is formed. In the sense they are not explained anything about how the new cell is going to form. Afterwards in 1855 Rudolf Virchow is given the cell is divides and a new cell is formed from a pre-existing cell, and that is the homogeneous cellular e cellular theory. And also the Rudolf Virchow was modified the cell theory and given the final shape to the cell theory, and today the cell theory as understood as what I told you, all the living organisms are composed of cells and cell means product of cells. And another one important point is all cells are arise from a pre-existing cells. Okay, this is about what the cell theory and what is cell. I will continue next. Thank you.